Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 of Our Life Beginnings and Always. We are in step 3. It's like the summer before college, so let's jump into it. We're going to work through all the moments like usual. We'll probably get through these 2 today if I had to guess. All right, we're going to start with the first one. You grabbed the large beach towel off of your bed and stuffed it into a bag. You'd already packed your water bottle for your upcoming beach hangout session. The stars had aligned and somehow everyone was free today. Miranda had set things up with several bubbly phone calls between you, Cove, and Terry to find a time to hit the beach. You were hoping that this would be a fun time together. Cove sat on your windowsill and kicked one of his legs into the air idly. He already had his swimsuit on and his towel was bundled under his arm in a misshapen ball. He'd shown up earlier that morning with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. He was chatting as you caught up to his preparation. But seriously, I couldn't find my swimsuit this morning. I looked everywhere. It had disappeared. I had no idea what I was going to do. Okay. What happened to all your other swimsuits? I know that's not your only one. Cove looked away and shrugged. Might have some laundry to do. Listen, get out of here. Go do your laundry. Anyways, I don't know why it was in the bathroom when I never put it there. He gave a small smile and readjusted the towel under his arms. You now could see that it had been folded at some point, but then rolled up and recarried without much care. But I'm just glad I found it. It would have been crappy to lose my favorite trunks. It was nice to see Cove so happy and comfortable in what he was wearing. You walked over to your dresser and mused about how you had picked out your own swimsuit. Luckily, since you were average height, you only need to worry about finding the right size. When it came to the shape of your body, I'll do that. And alright, there was a smooth feel to your build without any hard muscle even if you flexed. You kept mostly the same shape you had throughout your teenage years. You were used to your body, and your body was used to your habits. You alright? Oh yeah, I was just thinking about some things. What things? Just myself and my body, really. His eyebrows rose at your admission of self-reflection. What do you think? What did you think of who you were? You considered your identity further. And I never questioned it. Being called her was right for you. And listen, we gotta talk about our chesticles. Yeah, your boobs were a large part of your frame. Listen, my back wished they were smaller. They're fine. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. Oh, let's sit there with that. Absolutely. You could not stand it. Every time you looked in a mirror, you could just hear the litany of wrong, wrong, wrong. You had pretty much always been unhappy with your body. Even when you were younger, it felt off, but it still hadn't changed. You didn't feel like who you wanted to be. You focused on Cove again. He smiled at you and tilted his head, a question still in his eyes. He was waiting for you to come to an answer, but before you could, you had something to say to him. We'll do that one. About how I look, I mean. Cove frowned, his eyebrows furrowed in concern, as if he were trying to find the best words to say. His eyes warmed like he was looking at something truly special. Andy, you're wonderful. No matter what anybody thinks, you, me, anyone, you are still wonderful. It just can't be helped. It's a fact of life. Cove stopped speaking and looked at you for a moment. He kicked his feet. He considered something and then nodded with a thoughtful expression on his face. He stared forward and directly met your eyes. I've known you for a long time, since we were kids, you know? I've seen you just about every day for the past decade, so I think it's fair for me to say this. Each day you're different from before, just by a little bit, but you're also still the same. You're always you. It's nice to see you keep developing as a person. I do want you to keep being you, but the only one who gets to decide who that is you. You choose who you are today. You get to choose who you are tomorrow. That's okay with me. All right. We could push it back on him. That's always the safe thing to do. We'll just say thank you. Felt grateful for his support. You knew he meant every word. Hey, Mandy. Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. Great, you're looking particularly shapely today. I don't know that I would take that as a compliment. He answered with, not with words, but a solid okay sign with both hands and with the same cheek. I would not. I would be like, all right, great, thanks so much. He suddenly flushed when he realized how boldly he complimented you. He stood by it, even if he was a little red. You were taken aback. That came out of nowhere. You glanced at yourself. You like that? Yeah. Got a joke. Always got a joke. You posed dramatically. You showed off your guns. Fighting laughter. First the right, then the left. Then flex both of your arms and widen your stance in a stereotypical strong pose. Cove turned bright red and jumped to his feet. His towel dropped to the ground as he practically flew over to you. He looked at your arms and then tried to gently nudge them back down. You can stop now, really. He laughed nervously and flailed a little. You took pity on him and stopped displaying yourself. You'd gotten the reaction you wanted. He retreated back to sitting on the windowsill, retrieved his towel, head hung low to try hiding his expression. Finally, you felt that was enough of that topic for the day. You went back to your original goal before you got sidetracked. You needed to pick what you wanted to wear to the beach. Let's see. Probably would have been one of these two. We'll go with that. Well, you dug around in your drawers. You tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. Sunglasses? With that taken care of, you held your outfit together and looked to Cove. His tapping his toes on the side of the wall as he waited. You vaguely wondered if he thought that was a comfortable place to sit. You hoped so, given how long he'd perched on it. Regardless, it was time for him to go. You weren't going to put your beachwear with him just put on your beachwear with him just chilling there. Well, I'm going to change, so how about you wait outside? Cove nodded reassuringly. All right. Cove lowered himself off the window and strolled past you to get to the door. He lightly brushed his fingers against your cheek when he passed by. I'll see you out front. Okay. When you were alone, you got undressed and put your swimwear on. You also checked your beach bag for the final time, and it seemed like you hadn't forgotten anything. Listen, did we remember sunscreen? Your girl needs sunscreen. Your girl is a ghost. You left your room and hurried down the stairs, ready to meet Cove. You made sure to lock your front door and walked outside. Cove stood in the road, looking down and scuffing his feet on the asphalt. When you shut your heavy door, he looked up at you and you smiled. Hey. Hi, Miranda and Terry are going to be here in not too long. Terry even texted me earlier saying she was mostly on schedule. Why don't we just head to the beach and wait for them there? We're both ready. That sounded like a good idea to you. You said as much, and Cove shot off a quick text telling the two of them where you'd be. Cove gave you a thumbs up after the message sent. It was a familiar path to walk, and it wasn't long until you reached the shore. Cove laid out his towel on the warm sand. You set up your stuff beside him and looked out into the ocean. The rolling swells hit the shore rhythmically. You all had lucked out. It was a beautiful day. The sky was clear, and the waves were good. It was a balmy summer day, with a pleasant breeze to keep things comfortable. Essentially, it was perfect. Do you feel like heading into the water? Maybe just walk down the shore? Would you want to do something here? Water sounds good. It looks hot. That's what I'm here for anyway. Cove nodded, accepting of the plan. He kicked some sand off his towel absent-mindedly. Yeah, sounds nice. Took a deep breath and tasted the relaxing, salty air. Cove caught your eye and gave you a small smile. You chatted for a little before a comfortable quiet settled over the two of you, content to watch the waves as you waited for the others. Luckily, it didn't take long till you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight for you. Miranda was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and flowing like a cape. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious as she got closer. Cove waved them on with a bright grin. Shouted a greeting. How's it going? The two officially arrived at Cove's and your setup, looking completely ready for an ocean adventure. They were already in their swimwear and were raring to go. Hey Terry, Miranda. Welcome to our beach. Hi. Hello, hello. She beamed, and Miranda nodded with a smile. Man, I am so pumped. Yeah, I'm really glad this worked out. What have you guys been up to over here in your town? Cove, Mandy, have we missed things? Cove blinked and then shrugged, when nothing he wanted to mention came to mind. What have you been up to? The usual. Terry laughed and mentioned a few things about her own parents. Miranda brought up her family and shared some of the wild things her older brother had done. Terry then started talking about her morning and how she'd almost overslept since she had stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less back during school. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently everything had gone smoothly. She'd met up with Terry on the way here, and you knew the rest. Cove offered a suggestion to the girls. Hey, why don't we take this out to the water? Oh yeah, definitely. You felt pleased that Cove remembered what you wanted to do. Sometimes he could be thoughtful like that. Terry threw her stuff down on the sand and started running for the waves. Miranda was more careful, setting her things down, and waited for you and Cove. Cove tilted his shoulder to gesture over to the ocean. Been looking forward to this. The three of you made your way down to the shoreline together. Miranda cartwheeled and Terry clapped. As soon as all four of you were in the water, Cove swam out the furthest while Terry instigated a splash fight. There was rarely a quiet moment where someone wasn't laughing. Hours passed and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key, some more exhaustive. For you, it was another break time. You sat on your towel and sipped some water. Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms to force up sand around Terry's sides. Cove worked on covering Terry's feet. Took another drink and closed your eyes. Eventually a shadow passed over you, dampening the light that was still notable even behind your eyelids. You checked to see Cove had joined you there. He knelt down to dig around in the pile of assorted beach stuff in the middle of everyone's towel setup, pulled out the sunscreen. Took a seat next to you on his towel. He opened up the bottle with a soft pop and began to reapply the cream. Hey. He ran his hands across his chest to work the sunscreen in, and you might have checked him out a little from the corner of your eye, while still sipping some water. Want me to get your back? Yeah? You can help if you want to. I'd like that. Okay, I'll do it. Thanks. You scooted up behind your boyfriend and reached a hand around his front so he could squeeze a small pile of sunscreen into your hand. You rubbed your palms together, spreading the cream out more evenly, then began applying it softly to his shoulder blades. From there on, you moved to the tops of his shoulders, the nape of his neck, down his spine. Cove was mumbling the entire time, but you couldn't make out what he said. He might not have even realized what he was doing himself. The tone of his voice and the look on his face got the message across just fine, however. He was happy. You were too. After he and you finished up, Cove let out a comfortable sigh and looked off into the distance. But then he sighed again, this time in an exaggeratedly disappointing way. You wonder if he was going to sigh again, even more dramatically if you didn't say anything. What's wrong? You inspected his face to see if there was anything actually distressed about him, but he still looked like he was exaggerating. You asked anyway, since it was obvious that was what he wanted. Cove shook his head, comically despondent. His frown didn't match the sparkle in his eyes. I'm just becoming another jaded adult, that's all. Now you were really confused. You waited for him to continue, and his next sigh did not disappoint. It was the most ridiculously sad sigh you had ever heard. Then he smiled a little. Mermaids aren't real. What? That had not been what you were expecting, he continued. You know how much I liked mermaids as a kid? Well, merfolk as a whole. I really hoped that they were out there. I mean, the ocean's a big place, right? They could be somewhere. but the older I got, the more I had to accept it. They were just a fairy tale. He jerked his head over to the waterline and the rolling waves. They crashed against the shore and then drew back. This is the perfect beach for them. It's pretty and vast and never too crowded. If merfolk did exist, we definitely would have met one by now. Or at least we would have heard of someone else seeing one, but nothing. He acted as though that result was a true bafflement. He let his head hang. I gotta let the dream go. Pretended to be shocked and disappointed. What? Mermaids aren't real? You looked at him and tried to get fake tears to start welling up in your eyes. I can't believe it. Cove chuckled to himself, eyes tilted off into the sea, his face still low. Maybe it's for the best. Say a merperson did happen to wash up on shore one day. He looked at you with a doleful expression. I could have lost my girlfriend to their magical underwater world. I'd go with the merperson, but only if you could come too. Cove grinned. He hadn't expected that answer. You're a nice person, Mandy. What if they didn't want me? Would you seriously stay on land? You gave him a look. You meant what you had said. It'd only work if the offer was for both of you. Are you sure that's the right call? I'm not. If a beautiful, kind merperson falls for somebody, I'm pretty positive that the sensible response isn't to turn around and say, no thanks, I'm going to stay on land with a normal guy. Are you wanting me to leave you? You don't want me to be blindsided when you ditch me for a mer creature if they're real? No, that isn't what I'm trying to say. I'm not the one who'd have to deal with that, you know. It isn't the same kind of thing. If a merperson did magically appear, there's no chance it'd be me they'd call for. The more Cove spoke, the more it sounded like he could be merfolk himself. He was choking on air, a fish out of water. I mean, you're the one who's charming and talented. He barely eked the last words out. There isn't anyone who wouldn't choose you. Oh. You're completely flattered by how highly he thought of you. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. You saw that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls Miranda had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. We're gonna have to start over again on that part. Do you want to just give up on this now? No way. The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore. Okay, if you're sure, I'll try to fix this. Miranda started to rebury her, and Terry shot her a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her head crumbled. Miranda put her head in her hands. Cove caught your eye and started to drag himself up. Seems like we're needed. You agreed and followed him over to the girls. Miranda nodded at you both with appreciation. The three of you did your best to finish the job. You all worked out a system of using just enough wet sand to help hold the rest together. With 3 people, it didn't take long for Terry to be entombed. Terry grinned massively, and Miranda offered high fives. The pile was officially done. Oh, yeah. Resembling the Kool-Aid man, Listen, I love this. Resembling the Kool-Aid man, she kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Sand went flying in all directions, and Terry's shaped imprint was left behind. Miranda yelled again, and Cove chuckled. There probably wasn't a better way to get out of it. The 4 of you continued to have a good time. You went on a shell hunt. Miranda managed to find the biggest, while you found the most colorful. Cove caught a tiny crab. I think Cove won. Got a tiny crab. You did a bit of everything. There were impromptu games to just soaking up each other's company. However, after a while, you all had ran out of water, drinkable water anyway. It was decided that you'd head to your or Cove's house. Things were gathered, and you started to cheerfully walk up the road. What's next? I don't have anywhere to go, so it could be whatever. Same, I guess we can keep hanging out. Terry snorted and readjusted her grip on things. Doesn't sound too sure over there, Cove. Oops. Don't sound too sure over there, Cove. By this point, you could see her house. It hadn't taken you long to make the trip. The conversation continued with everyone throwing out suggestions. Are people hungry? She looked from face to face in inspection. Cove and Miranda shrugged in concert. No one was overtly opposed to it. However, you weren't really starving. It wasn't quite mealtime. You get dessert. Miranda put a finger to her lip in thought. The smile, her voice became more confident. Yeah, that would be fun. Terry considered it and then shot Miranda a thumbs up. Sounds great to me. I can definitely go for that. I think that's a good idea. But there's nothing sweet at my house. Your friends glanced at Cove and his place. He shook his head immediately. Dad doesn't have anything good either. I mean, unless you want dessert-flavored protein shakes. Ew, no. She cut in and held her hands up as if trying to ward off something evil. Cove smirked. It's not that bad. Nope. Well, there has to be some kind of sweet shop around here. Let's look it up. Terry nodded and started to dig around in her bag. I like the way you think. Terry continued to rummage in her bag and grew increasingly frustrated. She puffed out her cheeks and knelt down, setting the bag on the ground. With both hands free, she finally was able to fish out her phone. She raised it up in triumph for a brief moment of celebration. I'll search for something good. Terry got back to her feet, hefting the bag over one arm, tapping away at her screen in the other. But she assessed Cove from top to bottom. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Cove glanced down at his bare chest and feet, having not even registered it prior. He chuckled a little. I'll grab something. Cove moved over to his house. He looked towards yours. We'll be one of the girlies. We don't have to change. You watched Cove disappear into his house. Terry was deep in the midst of scrolling through food options. You shuffled over to where you could see, and Miranda did the same. There's ice cream. People love ice cream, especially around here. I don't really feel like ice cream. That's cool, because I don't either. She flicked her finger up, and another ice cream place showed up. Melty Moo-Moo's Frozen Treats, with an unfortunate cartoon mascot. I like ice cream, it's just not for today. There has to be something else. You thought on it, and Terry kept scrolling. You heard a door open and Cove reappeared. You were about to be surprised at how quick he was, but then noticed he'd just thrown on a t-shirt over his swim trunks and slipped on a pair of sandals. Of course. Hey. We didn't decide anything while you were gone. Everyone else exchanged their respective greetings, then looked back at Terry's phone. Terry scrolled further, then made an interested exclamation. Oh, what about this place? They sell crepes. That's something you don't see every day. Look how fancy they are. She shoved her phone into your face. Seemed like a cute shop. Didn't show any pictures of the actual building. The food seemed good. It was one of those places that put a lot of effort into presentation, with branded wrapping for the crepes as well, and well-applied toppings. Weird, I've never heard of it. I haven't either. Mysterious, but crepes are so good. She nodded her approval as Terry admired more of the photos. I'd go, it's not too far. We could drive. Terry cheered at the success of the plan made, and you all walked around to Cove's car. He had run inside once more to grab his keys. I wouldn't whitewash me. Terry leaned back against the car door, and the group stood by for his return. The car beeped and unlocked. Cove ran up to you with his car keys in hand. His hair slipped into his face, and he brushed it back. Shotgun. She clambered into the passenger seat without hesitation. You didn't argue and climbed to the back with Miranda. Terry activated the directions on her phone map and acted as their navigator, directing Cove to the crepes. GPS tried to get Cove to turn into a non-existent road once and wanted him to do a U-turn instead of just using a left turn. But with Terry looking at the actual path, it went smooth enough. You were led to a small stall in a parking lot rather than a full building. That explained why there hadn't been pictures of the crepery's interior, why it was new to you despite living in this town your whole life. It was a completely new structure that popped up recently. There was a window you could walk up to, and one for cars to drive up to. Cove parked with a laugh. I don't think I needed to put on a shirt for this, but I still want to try it. Let's go. Do you not trust us to eat in your car? She gestured to the drive-thru option. Cove shook his head with a snort. I trust some people here, maybe. But wouldn't it be more fun to actually check it out? Everyone acknowledged his point and piled out. Terry tried to tease Cove a little, but Miranda started talking about the last time she had grapes. Apparently they'd been a dessert explosion topped with multiple sauces, powdered sugar, what Miranda was pretty sure had to be cake icing. That's sweet. Literally, it was so good, but I regretted it so much. I couldn't finish it, and I really tried. You can do it this time, Randy. There were some laughs. When you got up to the menu, you realized that there were more than just crepes. There were definitely crepes, many crepes. However, stall also had a lot of different drinks as well. Teas, smoothies, milkshakes. Jackpot. She grinned and held out her fist for a fist bump. Miranda high-fived it. Perfect. The two stared at the awkward, vaguely turkey-shaped hand configuration they had made, and then slowly put their hands down. Cove's mouth twitched in a smile. He stepped up to order first. He glanced back at the menu. I would never order first. I'd probably just order a drink. Like a drink, please. There's a woman who looked a little older than you taking the orders. She smiled back at you, ready to hear the specifics of your purchase. Do you pick the size? You were asked what you wanted to drink. You ordered a milk tea. Oh, a nice coffee. I would probably order a nice coffee. It'd also add a mix-in or toppings for the drink. Damn, I could have got a milk tea with boba pearls. I was about to say. I was like, I would order the milk tea if we had boba. There's no boba. There wasn't boba. I'd probably add the milk. That's it. You paid and stepped aside to let your friends order. Cove got a lemon crepe with powdered sugar on top and the mixed berries. He also got a plain strawberry smoothie. Terry went crazy with toppings. Although she ordered a plain crepe, she had it smothered with whipped cream, cream cheese, chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and bananas. Miranda opted for a frappe with caramel syrup and condensed milk. The four of you stood off to the side as you waited for your treats. I think yours sounds tasty, Mandy. Thanks. Order for Mandy? Oh, I've got to get that. You grabbed your order. The others didn't take much time after that. The goods collected, everyone admired their treats. Terry dug right into hers, and Miranda gave hers a tentative slip. Slip? A tentative sip. Terry nodded acceptingly with her mouth completely full. Miranda tilted the frappe over to her with a grin. Terry sipped it and clearly loved it. She raised her crepe over to Miranda. You could tell that they were intent to make it look nice. But with all the assorted toppings piled on, only so much could be done. Miranda took a huge bite with gusto, sighed happily. Terry seemed satisfied and took another slurp of Miranda's drink. They had probably both only gotten one thing, because they knew they'd end up sharing. This is such I don't know why this feels like a weird sentence. You said nothing. It started consuming. Okay. One of them did say it looked good, but I mean, how not good could an iced coffee with some sweet milk in it taste? You know what I mean? You want to share ours? His face lit up with excitement as he passed you his crepe. Yeah, of course. He exchanged treats and took a chomp on the lemon crepe. It was light, with the sourness from the lemon and the sweetness from the syrupy berry mix. The smoothie was finely blended, and the occasional chunk of strawberry. I just can't speak today. Cove seemed to enjoy his taste, and then you swapped back. He smiled as he took a loud sip from his smoothie. Thanks, you always get good stuff. With that, Cove started to eat his treats in earnest. You saw him take a huge gulp of his smoothie. Then, without swallowing, he added a bite of his lemon crepe. Cove? Terry tore off a piece of her crepe, and held it out to Cove. Care to make a trade? Sure. Instead of continuing to loiter in the parking lot, the four of you started to walk down the sidewalk. There was a lot of sharing going on, with crepe bits and toppings being passed around. You wouldn't have been surprised if Terry ended up drinking more frappe than Miranda did. You kept going down the way, eating, drinking, and chatting. You hadn't realized just how far the group had wandered until you ended up right at the now leaving sign. Apparently, you were about to walk right out into the middle of nowhere. Terry took her mouth off Miranda's straw and stopped sipping the frappe. Impossible. Preposterous. How are we already at the end? I always forget how tiny this town really is. Cove chuckled a little and swallowed a chunk of Terry's grape. Kinda is, huh? It didn't feel that small when we were growing up. Felt bigger then. There was a time when Sunset Bird had felt huge. It seemed as endless as the ocean. There was always some street you hadn't wandered down, something new for the tourist. But now you had realized it was just a pond in this big, big world. Seeing the definite end only reinforced this. Here was the boundary that proved your hometown could be walked out of with ease. I guess this means we should probably head back. One doesn't just walk into nowhere land. We're not the only one, Terry. There's 4 of us. Terry scrunched up her face, not wanting to acknowledge the bad joke. She decided to ignore it. It stinks having to go all the way back. Yeah, but it's not like there's anything out that direction. And if we did keep going forward, it'd be an even longer trip home. You stared off into the stretch of road as Cove agreed that he didn't want to go out any further. Can we take a break here first before we turn back around? We've been walking for a while, and someone finished my drink. Right on cue, Terry loudly sucked the air from the straw. It was so good. Miranda looked at her, but Terry remained unrepentant. In the end, though, it was agreed to hang around the sign before heading back to the car. It didn't take long to finish the rest of the food and drinks. Everyone gathered up the trash and stuffed it into bags and pockets for now. The group relaxed on the grass, keeping account of all the cars that drove past. It was not a high number. 14. The newest passing car drove into town from somewhere outside. But as the vehicle came by, it slowed down and you watched as it ultimately rolled into a complete stop. Black car parked right by the now leaving sign. Everyone exchanged a baffled look. But then the tinted window rolled down and the driver peered out. As soon as you saw his hair, you recognized him. No one else you knew presented themselves so distinctively. Oh no. Hey neighbors. Cove also jolted with recognition. He pasted on a normal cordial smile and waved politely. Afterwards, he put his mouth back over the straw of his long empty drink, as if trying to act cool. We'll just say hi, that's fine. You inhaled and tried to be loud enough to account for the distance and the car noises. Nice to see you again. Somehow he was able to project his voice in such a way that it still sounded smooth, even though he was definitely speaking loudly. You wondered where he'd learned to do that. And you thought about the odd picture this made. Fancy black car pulled up over to talk to a group of teens, mostly still in beachwear. Miranda was incredibly confused and shrank back to watch. Terry tilted her head in an unspoken question. Cove made a quick gesture pointing towards Baxter, and a light bulb went off for Terry. Ah, that's the new person in the condo. B-Man, right? Yeah, Baxter. Oh, I wasn't sure if I'd ever actually see him. Her voice was quiet. Miranda usually got shy around new people. Terry was quite the opposite. Incredible, this is perfect. Terry hopped up from the grass and ran to Baxter's car, all full of excitement. Behind her, Miranda perked herself up and dusted imaginary dirt off her clothes. She sent a searching look to you and Cove, to which Cove shrugged. Miranda nodded and, with clenched fists, hesitantly followed Terry. Terry bent down to talk to Baxter through his window. She blasted through introductions, with Miranda putting in a shy wave. Cove looked at you. He still clearly had no intention of going over. We're going to encourage Cove to come. Come on, let's go and see him. Cove pouted. His cheek flared out in a childish puff. I don't want to. I don't even know what to say. You can go. I'll just wait here until he's gone. You really should come. You can do it. Do you want to be the only person who doesn't go see him? Well, why can't you stay here with me instead? You sighed. He was definitely going to be difficult about this. Some days he really was that same grouchy 8-year-old you met all those years ago. Do you really hate him that much? No, I don't hate him. I get weird around him. I know his forwardness bothers you, but think of him like Terry. She's super friendly and loves to chat with new people. She's doing it right now. Terry doesn't hit on me. Terry doesn't hit on you, if that's what he's even doing. Baxter says serious things when I don't think he's actually very serious. That's what bothers me. It'll be alright. He's tried to do less of that with you, and we'll all be there. With an unnecessarily whiny groan, he relented. Fine, let's go. Slowly, progress forward was made until you two arrived at the driver's side car window. Baxter smiled welcomingly. Hello. Hey. Cove greeted him mildly, his expression cautious. Howdy, Baxter. Yee-haw. Baxter gestured to Miranda and Terry. Just rented this car for my stay here. Was coming back from a bit of sightseeing when I spotted your crowd. Then these two were kindly introducing themselves. Yep, it's only polite. Speaking of polite, Baxter is giving us a ride. I was asking him to. What? Baxter shrugged guiltily, seeing Cove's dramatic reaction. The offer is open, and we're taking it. Oh, okay. Listen, I'd be happy to get a ride. Regardless of anything else, you didn't want to have to walk back. That's what counted, and you were grateful to Terry for arranging it. Alrighty, plan made. Let's hop in. You excitedly opened the passenger side door and buckled yourself in. The car was pristine, and you were right near the new car-scented air freshener. Baxter had the air conditioner on cold, but low so it was pleasantly cool inside. A nice relief from the summer sun you had been baking in all day. Your friends clambered on in back. It definitely seemed like the slightest bit squished back there. Welcome to my vehicle. I hope everyone is comfortable. And if someone could point me in the right direction, we'd be on our way. Terry went back to navigator mode and outlined their journey. It was basically a straight line with one turn at the end of the parking lot. Baxter nodded from up in the driver's seat, pulled back into the road. Luckily, the street was still dead empty. It took no time at all for Baxter to park right next to Cove's car. There wasn't even enough time for a proper conversation to start. The occupants didn't seem to mind. There were smiles all around when Baxter parked next to Cove's car. Woo! Miranda clapped quietly as Terry cheered. Cove chuckled nervously. We'll smile, that seems fair. You were glad to have reached your destination and pleased at the fanfare of your friends. You didn't say a word, but Terry and Miranda definitely caught your amusement. We've arrived. That was easy. Terry flung open her door and climbed out. Thanks. Everyone else exited the car as well. The group thanked Baxter with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Baxter himself got out too. Everyone congregated again in front of Baxter and Cove's cars. Terry bounced over to Baxter and offered her hand for a handshake. He accepted it easily with a charming grin. You're a pal. You're too kind. It was no trouble whatsoever. I'll be keeping this car all summer. If it suits you, you're welcome to take my number and give me a ring whenever you're in need of another ride. That goes for everyone here. I have a car. Terry busted into laughter. Miranda fidgeted. She did not know what to do with that. Baxter really went fast, didn't he? He noticed her discomfort and smiled with a soft tilt of his head. Be happy to help again, but that's the only reason I offered. If you don't need it, you can pass on it. I stayed silent. He's real touchy. When her giggles subsided, Terry put a hand on her chin with brows furrowed. I wonder, that option be available right now? You could valet us somewhere cool. What? Cove was taken aback. Put a hand on the hood of his car. Aren't we going back to the neighborhood? Wasn't Baxter going back to the neighborhood too? Why would we go somewhere else? Because we can. Miranda squirmed nervously and then committed to piping up. We go to the park near my place. It's a really nice place to hang out. You and Cove shared a look. The park was pretty nice. Let's do it. Baxter tapped on the side of his face in thought.
It's doable.
That sounds doable. He glanced at Cove, then switched his focus to you. Well, we have 2 cars. If some people want to go to the park, I could still take the others home. But if everyone's going, it wouldn't make sense for me not to. Listen, myself, I would probably go home. I want to go home. But it's summer. We should be living it up. We wanted to continue the hangout session at the park. You weren't ready to tag out yet. Came to a decision and turned to Cove. Let's go to the park. All right, park time it is. He smiled a little. Terry cheered and Miranda nodded happily. You felt like you made a good decision. To the car, again. Which car? There are multiple. You watched to see if Cove or Baxter had an answer. Cove sighed and ran a hand through his hair. He tapped on his car's hood nervously. We can go in Baxter's, I guess. It'll be less of a pain than bringing both. We're going to the same place. Are you okay with that, Baxter? Certainly. I meant what I said. When you need a lift, I can give it. Neither you nor Terry brought up any objections, and so the gang climbed back into Baxter's nice ride. This time, Baxter offered to turn on some music. After all, it would be a bit of a drive to the park. We'll say that. He's driving us. We gotta be kind. Yeah, I would like to see what kind of stuff a guy like you is into. I hope this playlist lives up to the expectations. Plugged his phone into the car with an aux cord and turned on some alternative music. The music taken care of, Baxter put the car in drive and pulled out of the parking lot. The lot was practically empty, but you noticed that he was careful anyways. During the trip, he changed to hard rock, punk, and even screamo. Despite his personable demeanor, he didn't seem to like upbeat tracks. Took a while to arrive. By the time he got there, the sky was golden with orange streaks of sunset. Everyone got out of the car and started to stroll along one of the paths. You walked by the basketball court and some picnic tables, taking in the sights. Miranda seemed amazingly content, the location helping her relaxing the company. She led the way, sometimes stopping here or there to point something out. Baxter turned to her and nodded along. Never been here, but I definitely see the appeal. Man, this is Randy's stomping ground. She's been coming here forever. Seriously, Miranda, have you ever had a birthday party that wasn't here? You missed out, Baxter, because every year she has a blowout birthday party at the park. Imagine balloons everywhere. Miranda looked down, suddenly shy again with the attention on her. She let out an awkward laugh. Yep, every year. The group followed Miranda along to one of the picnic tables. She took a seat and Terry slid in beside her. You spent the evening chatting amongst each other. Everyone got to know Baxter a little better, though you could tell Cove and him still hadn't fully clicked. At one point, Miranda found an abandoned soccer ball, started tossing it around. To me! Miranda threw the ball to her. Terry caught it with a smile. Think fast. She chucked it at Baxter, who only had enough time to squeak. Bounced off his chest as he stared at it dazed. He blinked as if he needed time to process what exactly had happened, but then grinned dangerously. Rushed after the ball and then, rather than throwing it back, oh no, he surprised Terry and everyone else by lobbing it into the air. You bent your neck back to watch its ascent, an inevitable decline. Baxter hooked it with his foot and launched it up again. There were oohs and ahs from Terry and Miranda. Baxter gave them a very proper bow. When it finally fell to the ground for real, Cove was the one who picked it up. He was impressed and wanted in. With that, everyone was drawn into the game. It was unspoken that whoever did the fanciest trick won. Most of the gang was not particularly practiced with throwing a ball, so not many of the tricks were actually good. However, there was a lot of laughter, and you got to see Miranda pull off a round off where she threw the ball with her feet, so that was cool. The sunset eventually darkened into night, and the streetlights turned on. Your group's chosen picnic table laid in a bubble of light. The occasional bug cast a shadow as it flew by. It's a little strange being here so late on a normal night. Usually that only happens if there was a party or an important game or a fireworks show. Fireworks? Her yell startled Baxter, who was throwing the ball nonchalantly from hand to hand. He missed catching it, and it sailed sadly back to the ground. You looked at Terry for her loud outburst. Just remember, there's going to be a fireworks show tonight. It's in the city. At everyone's questioning looks, she huffed and tried to explain it further. Some celebration for the opening of something. I don't remember what. I don't think we could get into the actual event anyways. But we should still be able to see the show if we get close. You can't keep explosions in the sky away from the public. It's true. Cove raised an eyebrow and drummed his fingers on the table below him. You want to change locations again? Wasn't the last 2 times enough? Listen, maybe I'm Cove. Tori rolled her eyes and then shook her head. To her, it was obvious. Don't be a wet blanket, Cove. What about you, Mandy, Randy, Baxter? Do you want to see fireworks? It's fireworks. We gotta go. I'm so sorry, Cove. I'm sorry. I feel you, brother. I guess they are fireworks. All right, whatever. What's one more scene change? Yosh. I knew this was a good idea. In turn, 4 sets of eyes looked to Baxter. As the driver, his answer made or broke the plan. He chuckled softly. In for a penny, in for a pound. I'll go. Genuinely, there's nothing better to occupy my time tonight. Better hurry or we might miss it. Cove rolled his eyes but laughed. Everyone headed back to the car yet again. Terry brought out her phone to navigate to the city and Baxter stepped on the gas. You were on your way. Baxter drove past the buildings, aglow in warm yellow light that cut through the navy black night. One office building had bright LED lights that cycled through a whole rainbow of hues. It was difficult to get through all of the traffic on the road, let alone find parking this late at night. Luckily, Miranda had eagle eyes when it came to scoping out a spot. She pointed to a sedan pulling out, and Baxter parked within seconds. Not wanting to miss the show, you all raced down the waterfront walkway to find a place with a good view. What about here? Cove peered across the rails into the distance, shot her a thumbs up. It was a relatively quiet, isolated, and you could see skyscrapers. That was a good sign based on where Terry thought the event was. Yes, this should work just fine. She stopped and tried to catch her breath, her hands on her knees. Miranda leaned against the wall between establishments as she recovered. Cove took a moment to breathe as well, stretching his spine back. He looked up at the sky in wonder and let out a relieved sigh. Think we missed anything? Not a chance. Nothing's happening and we can't be so late that we missed everything. Maybe it'll start soon. Felt excited. Who doesn't like fireworks? The spontaneity of the whole thing combined with the amazement of fireworks was a recipe for you to be bursting with anticipation. Couldn't start soon enough. Terry led Miranda to sit down on the oval slabs along the path. Miranda took a seat and began tapping her knees together as she waited. Terry, meanwhile, crouched more than sat. Baxter smiled politely and looked from you to Cove. He seemed to be waiting for one of you to speak first, rather than wanting to directly start a conversation. Something seemed to strike Cove as he tried unsuccessfully to hide a smile. We're all still in swimsuits. Wearing beachwear in the middle of the city in the dark, while waiting for a fireworks show, was clearly the joke of the day for him. Cove snorted once and then looked back up at the sky. A flash lit up the sky with a brilliant green. Your eyes flew off the building in the distance and silently watched with bated breath. You heard a second boom and a red firework lit up the night. Ooh, the show's starting. It's so pretty. They came running over to get closer. Positively beaming, Terry pressed herself to the waterfront fence, getting as close as physically possible without just going swimming again. With more fireworks went off, shooting out hundreds of tiny sparkling lights. The colors stood out starkly against the dark of the night. The biggest ones washed your surrounding with their hue, turning your world blue, then red, then golden. Did I deliver or did I deliver? Miranda's eyes glittered, and she lightly bumped Terry with her hip. Good job. Terry stumbled at the friendly nudge, but was pleased with the compliment. She grinned back. Miranda lightly swung her hips the opposite way to give you a bump as well. It was friendly and soft. We did it! He smiled at her and nodded. You were glad everyone seemed to be having a good time. Cove stared up at the sky with wonder, while Terry squealed in joy after a series of especially grand explosions. Miranda pointed to one that was shooting up then gasped when it boomed and turned into a huge sphere of violet light. Baxter smiled in appreciation. It's good to see your friends in high spirits. The rest of the group huddled around the railing to take in the show as closely as possible. Miranda stood close by. Terry's hands gripped the top. Cove laid his arms across it while leaning forward, and Baxter rested elbows on the rail, putting his back towards the fireworks. He seemed to have more fun watching the others than the actual show. Ooh! She pointed out a golden firework and beamed. Ah, that's so cool! Terry held up a hand for a high five and Miranda obliged her. Terry whooped and shot you a smile. What color do you think the next one will be? Without giving Baxter a glance, Cove answered immediately. Green. It was orange. Baxter chuckled, but wasn't interested in calling Cove out for being wrong. Is that your favorite color, green? It's one of them. I think that's nice. It matches you. And yours is black? That's one of them. Cove smirked just a little and left the conversation there. Stood obviously stand next to your boyfriend. Come on. Cove looked away from the fireworks and grinned at you. He was glad to be spending time with you and tilted his head at a spectacular multicolored firework above. I think that's been my favorite so far. He shot you another look and nodded, wanting you to move closer. In front of him, you could see the night's lights reflected on the water. It took a moment to watch him, and the fireworks reflected in his eyes. Cove grinned like a kid. You pressed yourself against his chest and snuggled into him. He readjusted his position, then wrapped his arms around you, holding you close. He rested his chin on top of your head comfortably. You let yourself rest against him and continued to watch the fireworks above. Cove's gaze drifted from the show of dazzling lights straight at you, and he sighed dreamily. You didn't know when you'd last seen him so blissful. The spectacle continued to up the ante by bringing more fireworks out at a time. The colors danced across the sky, reflected over the water. You reached out a hand and watched as it was tinted green while a big boom sounded. Fireworks were a normal summer tradition, but this was an admittedly unconventional approach. Showing up in the city last minute to watch a display from a technically private event, that made this feel special in a way that just planning to go to a public fireworks show never would. Terry's idea may not have left you with a lot of time to prepare, but it sure led to a unique situation. It was clear that this was an unforgettable night. As the finale sounded, blazing the sky with unbelievable beauty, you remembered thinking that there might never be a night exactly like this one again, not for the rest of your life. You planned to hold on to the feelings you had in that moment for as long as you could. Well, that was a nice one. That was longer than I thought it would be. So we will end it here. We'll see how long the other ones go. This might go on for a little bit, but thank y'all so much for watching. I had fun. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time. Bye, yay! Love y'all!